decision-making process. Is that your take?
And he made only that one comment. My own assessment and view on the matter, when he will raise the hand, perhaps to want to talk, Minister will not know what the Chief of Staff is going to say. Like I say, normally he will advise the Minister on the directives that he would have given to the management or the meeting, that Minister, on this date, this is what you said must happen, and it's not here. But this time around, he participated in the discussion in that his indication was, but you are now defying the minister's directive of disbandment. So that is the thing that stood out to say, but why? Because the minister already said, I hear you, General Masemola, I hear the presentation, I hear the recommendations. So why will the Chief of Staff now come and say, but if the minister is agreeing to the recommendation, it means we are defying the minister. And for me, if it is the department, remember, it is the National Commissioner that is presenting to the minister. Even if we are there, the accounting officer of the department is the National Commission. Whether the presentation is done by the Lieutenant General, or whoever, but at the end of the day, National Commissioner will not present to the minister what was not presented and agreed with him.
Yeah, somewhere in your statement, you are saying a decision to establish a component of murder and robbery predated the establishment of the PKTT. Am I correct?
The PKTT was already there, if you'll recall even the previous discussions on the matter. In 2018, the current team was replacing the team that the ones that were there before found it ineffective.
What was the name of that component which was already there?
No, not the component that was already there. There was already a task team.
Or a task team.
Yes, there was a task team that was
leave that one. I think, yes, there was a task team and it was ineffective. But I'm saying now the murder and robbery, a unit, or the murder and robbery component. Somewhere in your statement, you are saying that a discussion to establish the murder and robbery unit predated the current events. I'm quoting you verbatim,
yes,
even though your statement is not in front of me, but I read it, Dara. That's what you are saying. Am I correct?
You are correct. Murder and robbery was already in force.
The discussion, because I think you are saying it started between 2016 and 2017, the discussion of a murder and robbery unit.
The work study was concluded in 2019, but yes, the consultations, because it's a process to finalize the work study investigation. And the business units that are going to be affected will then be consulted. And I said at the time, I was serving as the divisional commissioner.
Yes, yeah, that's what we are saying. Yes, correct. Now, my question is, here now, in this meeting of the 6th of March, 2025, General Khumalo is making a presentation. He talks about a transition from the PKTT to the murder and robbery, a component. So is it the same component that was initiated before the establishment of the PKTT that he talks about?
That's correct.
Now, my question is, why is now General Sibiya, if this thing started a long time ago, the murder, the discussion about the murder and the robbery component started even before the establishment of the 2018 task team, why is now General Sibiya opposed to it?
It will be difficult for me.
And I'm asking a twofold question. The first question is why, if it's a concept which was already there. And then the second question, in line with the first question, is what was the alternative plan which they were proposing the alternative plan, because remember the plan presented by General Khumalo here is that there must be a transition from this task team to that component. Now, when they disagree with this one, what are they providing as an alternative?
The discussion in that meeting was that can this particular investigation of PKTT be either assigned to the provincial investigative unit or to the murder and robbery. Of course, murder and robbery, I think until to date, is only functioning at provincial level. Or the dockets be redistributed back to the stations of origin. I have also indicated earlier that when the team was formed, there were 4 sub-teams that were reporting under one commander. The initial commander of the PKTT in 2018, when it was established, was a Major General who is a component head of general investigation at head office, who took pension later that year, in September of the same year. Because of the nature of general.
I'm sorry, General. I've got to cut you because also there's an issue of time here.
Okay.
And there are many questions I want us to talk about. I want to pose to you. May you please confine yourself to my questions? The question is, what alternative plan were they suggesting as opposed to the plan that was presented by General Khumalo? And 2, when they were in disagreement with this, does it mean they were opposing a plan which was initiated in 2017? Because the evidence that we have tendered is that this component predated the establishment of the 2018 task team.
I will not say it's them who were suggesting. The meeting suggested either provincial teams to take over the dockets or dockets go to the station. So we were still in discussion when General Khumalo on the recommendations was that can we then have a gradual disbandment as these dockets are currently being decided whether they should go to PIU or they should go to the stations of origin, of which it was going to be a transitional process, even to decide whether we'll want to take them back to the stations of origin where they were collected from. Hence, they were centralized to PKTT.
So they were opposed to this with no alternative plan which they suggested.
It was either or.
Yeah. Maybe let me help you by reading what you have written here on paragraph 29, page 11. Okay. You are saying here, Lieutenant General Khumalo made a presentation on the PKTT at the meeting. The presentation proposed that the disestablishment or disbandment of the PKTT, if considered, will take a form of a transition from National Political Killings Task Team to the component. Serious violent crimes, brackets, open bracket, murder and robbery, a unit. That's what you are saying. And that's where my question arises.
Maybe the confusion is if that proposal was made by General Sibiya or the person that was opposing the recommendation that General Khumalo was presenting. It was not them that were saying it should go to murder and robbery. It was the proposal on the presentation itself that was done in consultation with the head of the detective, in this case, the divisional commissioner responsible for detective and forensic service.
Okay. Let's go to charges which were preferred against you by IPT. evidence which has been tendered so far before this committee is that IPID was weaponized against certain members of SAPS. That is the first point I want us to talk about. Do you agree with that?
I will not agree if I don't have facts, but that is what
No, I'm
my
saying
bid was doing.
as an allegation, I know that you are not making conclusive statements here, but as an allegation, would you say really there is an inference that points you to that conclusion? That there was an outside, not necessarily political, an outside or political interference, which, Chair, can I be protected? I mean, Honorable Breitenbach is disturbing me.
Honorable Breitenbach.
I'm truly heartbroken, Chair. So sorry.
Yeah. So, would you agree with that assertion that at some point IPID was infiltrated by external forces, the consequence of which it was weaponized to deal with certain individuals within the institution of SAPS?
I'm afraid that I don't want to talk and make allegations if I don't have proof. However, I've indicated earlier that their investigation was directed by the complaints that were on social media. So I will not know if that was an attempt or with my colleagues, other colleagues, it's because they were used.
Because a follow-up, had you given a different answer, was going to be, do you think that the charges preferred against you? Because what you have told us here is that these charges are spurious. They have no basis because there are no contradictions in your statements and so on. So you did not commit perjury. Now, a follow-up question was going to be, do you now think that these charges are in line with this characterization of IPID, or are in line with this unethical conduct of weaponizing IPID against certain individuals? Are you also on the receiving end of that, or they are genuine?
They are not genuine because they cannot be proven. And I believe the time frame that have been spent, it's the one that will confirm to me that if there were charges, and I said earlier, when I was approached, I was told that these three statements are contradictory. The question was, where is the contradictions? And that was not finished to me until this date that I'm sitting here. Nobody has ever came to point to me that paragraph 7 and paragraph 8 of this statement are contradicting with paragraph 6 and paragraph 5 of the statement. That I do not know. On my own, I sat with the three statements, having to find out what are the things that are being attributed to contradiction. I was not told what contradictions are. I made an example earlier that when you come and approach me as a law enforcement to say you have hit a person with the vehicle, there should be a person and there should be a damage on my car. That you are saying, look here, they are, so that I am able to respond. Okay. So coming to me and saying you have contradicted yourself here, where here?
I hear you, General. The National Commissioner comes back, he takes leave on the 31st of December and comes back for duty on the 14th of January. Is there anything he did? Because in your statement, in terms of the chronology of your statement, you spoke to him after the directive was issued while he was on leave. That was in January, on the 1st of January.
On the 3rd.
On the
3rd.
On the 3rd of January, yes. And then he comes back on the 14th of January. You are not making any indication of him raising a concern between a period when he arrived and a period of the 6th of March when you held a meeting wherein General Kumalo presented a plan. So between those events, there is no reflection of him raising a concern to the minister about a decision which he took on the 31st of December while he was on leave. Following that, am I correct if I make a conclusion that says after the National Commissioner came back from leave, he did nothing to engage or contest the decision that was taken by the minister in his absence? He only acted in compliance with the directive in March on the 6th when you had a meeting with him. Is that a correct narrative?
It will not be a correct narrative, particularly directed to me, because I do not know if the National Commissioner and the minister met.
No, I'm saying I'm getting here you have written what you know. No, I'm saying in terms of what you know, we can't suffocate you for what you do not know. But in terms of what you know, because you have written what you know. In terms of what you know, the National Commissioner came back from leave. He did not do anything to contest the directive. He only spoke about the directive in March when he was complying, receiving reports from General Kumalo.
That is the point where I'm saying I cannot confirm that he did nothing, because the fact that the plan was prepared, I don't know the communication between him and other deputies.
Yeah, no, I'm saying in terms of what you know, you can't account for what you do not know.
Definitely, Chair, I don't know whether he engaged other deputies, whether he engaged the minister, but what is in my knowledge is that the next time we discuss the matter over and above different environments and business units presenting to him, I was involved in the meeting of the 5th with Portfolio Committee and the 6th with the minister.
Okay. Briefly, in a nutshell, I just want you to give an explanation of your duty vis-a-vis a duty of the National Deputy Commissioner. I think crime detention, General Sibiya. That's how he is called, correct?
Correct.
What is the distinction between your responsibilities?
General Sibiya is responsible for detective services, forensic services, and crime intelligence. These are the 3 divisions that are reporting to General Sibiya. This is only the investigation, follow-up investigation, and support. Policing involves all other units that are operational in the police, except the 3. So every other unit that you will get in the police, from the police stations, within the division visible policing and operations, you will have different components. There is a component that is dealing with firearms and liquor compliances. You will have a component that is dealing with frontline police, which is the police station and all members in the client service center and all operations that are happening at the police stations. You will have the component that is dealing with border policing. You will have the component that is dealing with emergency services. That is all your flying squads. And you will have protection and security services.
So between the 2 of you, with whom does the buck stop? Between the 2 of you in relation to the PKTT affairs?
It will stop at NOC, which is the component reporting to me. But in terms of the investigations, the dockets themselves, the buck stops with General Sibiya.
Chair, am I running out of time? Should I stop now? Oh, okay. Lastly, since you are dealing with policing, what is your final assessment on the effectiveness of the PKTT at the time when it was dissolved? Was it still needed? Was it effective? Did it make any practical positive or practical paradigm shift in KZN where it was established?
I believe it was, yes. The decline in cases,
So there was a need for its continuation.
safe to say, I'm mindful of your time. There are other task teams that were established or were undertaken in that tenure of the minister. Example of those, lockdown 3, as well as the taxi violence that was in Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape. So there was a need to still, murder and robbery, it's in existence, but where there are interventions that were to be undertaken, those teams were established.
Thank you so much. Take the microphone, Honorable.